morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the world. Dobson 777A here. Okay, I'm going to do a series of videos to help you learn how to grow food at your house. And the first video in this series is about potatoes because I think it's overlooked for how fabulous a vegetable this is for growing because it requires such little effort. Once you rototill your channels and you put your potatoes in and fertilize it and then cover them back up, it's really just a matter of occasionally watering. If you do it the way I did it, you can get away without even fertilizing again. It will always help your yield, but there's just amazing how much potatoes you can generate using this simple method that I'm going to show you. I've kind of researched a whole different number of ways, and to me this is the easiest of all, and also it's just going to look like weeds on your hills. So if we had some kind of problems, everybody's always worried about marauders and everything else, more than likely it's going to be overlooked, and that's going to be food that'll still be there for you in the ground. And certain types of potatoes, like what I plant, can actually overwinter, and you can go keep digging them up and you don't need to bring them in your house and store them in any way. So you just dig them up as you need them. I've had amazing luck with these. Even when I've harvested the next year, I've missed some and they start sprouting in my beds. So it's just proof that these are extremely hardy, and that's why I use them. Now there's a whole bunch of potato strains, but I use just primarily the red potatoes, and it's mostly because even the little ones are delicious for like breakfast and everything. So let's take a look at what I've done here, and I hope this will be helpful for you. And remember, this is one of a series, and I'll try to link them all together in each video, either in the description or at the tail end. You'll have a link that you can click on. So get out there and get gardening. This pandemic is really going to teach people that we need to be as self-sufficient as possible, and that's what this channel is all about.
All right, so I've had some potatoes. These are red potatoes that were left over from last year, some of the smaller ones, and I just kind of kept them. They're looking kind of pathetic, but these things will grow like crazy when I put them in the ground. You can see they're all sprouted, so I'm going to just kind of, I probably can get a big long row of just these potatoes, and that'll make a lot of potatoes. I won't have to cut these or anything because they're all pretty small size. And then I went and bought, these are 10 pounds of similar type red. Well, I can't even grab that thing. And a couple of these are monster. You can see how big it is in my hand. So I can get probably 6 or 8 pieces out of this one. And you can see how these are sprouting, so you want to try to get a couple eyes per piece. It's kind of funny, this backside doesn't have any eyes at all. So anyways, these will all grow pretty good. So I'm got a 5-gallon bucket. I'm going to start cutting these up and let them scab over, and by the end of the week I should be able to start planting everything, weather permitting.
Now I got those larger potatoes from the feed store. It was Cherokee Feed and Seed, and they had these big containers, and they're called red Pontiac potatoes. And they are just seed potatoes. I will tell you that you can actually go to the store and buy organic red potatoes. That's what I've done before if I didn't get my garden started early enough. And the reason why you want to get organic, because they do not have this coating on the potatoes that keeps them from sprouting. And it works. I've done it over and over. Just buy the small red potatoes, and you don't have to cut them or anything. Makes it a lot easier. Now, after I cut my red potatoes up, I just set them on a table in the basement, and I kind of wish that I had set them in a warm spot, but in any event, they still scabbed over perfectly, and they were ready for planting. But if I had put them in a warmer spot for this to happen, I would have had some additional sprouting, which would have sped up the process. Now for this next part, I want to show you the tool that I used, because I didn't take any video of me using this, but I had a very steep hill that you couldn't use a regular rototiller. So I've had one of these electric ones. Excuse me, I just use it without these wheels right here. I'm able to use this in my raised beds. This thing is fantastic, and I've had this for many years. So for 198 bucks for like the regular homeowner, this is something that you should consider. This is just at least in the US, it's in the Home Depot, but everybody sells a similar thing like this. And I mean, it's a pain in the butt having a little bit of a cord, but it's one less thing you got to worry about, you know, bad gas and everything else. And I have used the crap out of this, and it's light. That's what's really helpful. So I wanted you to be aware of this. This is a very, very useful tool. Again, I don't get anything for these things. I'm just showing you what I do and how it's worked out for me. And you'll see how steep this hill is that I use this on. And you know, each year it's easier. The first year when I was cutting into the hill, I didn't plan on it very well. I just said, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. If you wait until, like in Georgia clay we have here, if you wait until you've had some rain to kind of soften things up. When I did it, it was like rock hard, and it took a long time, but this was year 2, and so I already had channels that were done that were full of manure and everything, and all I was doing was refreshing. So just a few tricks there that should help you. All right.
Now, one of the things that you've always got to consider, I try to tell you to think, you know, months ahead. Not days, not hours, not minutes, months. So I decided to grow the crap out of potatoes this year. Well, you got to have some way to be able to put your potatoes up and have them store properly. Where I live, we have a lot of chicken houses, and they have these baskets that they use. I don't know if these are primarily for the chicks or for the eggs or what, but these things are all over the place, and you can get these for a song. But what's neat about them is if you turn it one direction, like this, they kind of sit inside each other. But if you pick it up and flop it around the other way, you'll notice that it leaves a gap in there where you can store your potatoes. And if you think about, each one of these trays probably could hold maybe 10 pounds of potatoes. It depends on the size of them and everything, but these are not as deep as some of the other ones I have. I have some bigger ones over here, so you can get a couple different sizes, but I've been picking these things up for about $1 a piece. And if you look online at Uline or whatever, these things are super expensive. Now you can see this one is deeper. So I have 10 of these that I got from a friend. And if you turn these over, these actually can hold some of the bigger potatoes. So that's the way I'm going to kind of work it. I'll put my bigger potatoes in these, and I'm going to see if I can't pick up some more of the, because maybe like sweet potatoes and everything would fit in that. But anyways, I want you to think ahead. So I now have 45 baskets. Is that enough? I have no idea, but it's more than I had a week ago. And I found a few more online that they got the price a little high, and I'm going to see if I can't pick those up. But then you got to figure out where you're going to put all these potatoes. So I'm going to have to clear out some shelving in my basement and plan on, again, 6 months from now. Think about what you're going to do 6 months from now. Here's a top-down view of the furrows that I did. Chickens are all the way down there, man. They've been working the heck out of that grass. They love it. Looking for all kinds of bugs and everything. That's the other thing they do. They clean out all that stuff. So anyways, these are looking really good. It took a lot of work to get, there's still some grass we got to get out of here, but some of this just makes it easier if it grows up a little bit. But this is pretty well cleared, and I will be planting tomorrow, first thing in the morning. All right, I'm up at the top of my hill, and I'm about ready to start some potatoes. And you can see I've got a bunch that I've left over from last year. These were the smaller ones that we didn't want to eat, and we just kept them over, and they're sprouting, ready to go. And what I'm going to do is put a little bit of cow manure and set the potatoes. And then I'm going to cover it up with more cow manure. I'm going to do that for these. I have 4 short rows, and then I have another partial short row over there. and I'm going to plant all of these small ones. Then I got 5 more, probably 20-foot rows that I'm going to plant my white potatoes that I've got. Well, actually, I think they're another type of red potato. And then I'm going to leave the bottom 2 rows. So there'll be 3 rows of the white potatoes, and then bottom 2 rows I'm going to do of the sweet potatoes. So this is going to be a potato hill. Tremendous amount of potatoes. I even could go farther over there if I needed to make the rows even longer, but this should be plenty long enough. So let's get started. Let's set some potatoes. All right, I just took 1 bag of cow manure, and I use this black cow. Like I said, normally I use rabbit manure, but the rabbit manure is all the way down at the bottom of the hill, and I'm up at the top of the hill. It was easier to buy these $5 bag of cow manure and bring it a short ways down the hill. I'm out of breath because I just carried a 50-pound pail of fertilizer up these steep steps. And that's why I don't want to do this too many times. But basically I put the cow manure in, and then I made a little channel with my hand and stuck the potatoes in about 6 to 8 inches apart. So now what I'm going to do is fertilize, and I've got this particular rainbow plant food. I got this at my local Cherokee Feed and Seed, and this is kind of what you want to get for potatoes. It's like a 5, 10, 15, and I use this for pretty much all my garden plants that you're not trying to grow a lot of foliage. This is fantastic. And so now I've got, you can see it's just a fine granular. It looks like a lot of organics in this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take probably a cup or so for each row and put it in here. So I've got this 3-quart scoop that I use for feed, and this works great for just getting a scoop and then kind of putting it across the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is throw another bag of cow manure over the top, kind of hilling it, and that's all I will do. There's nothing else you have to do the whole growing season except for maybe sprinkle some water on there. And because of the way I've made these swales, these are actually about 6 to 8 inches deeper than that lip, and so when it rains it'll fill up that channel and hold water. So each one of these are swales, and this really makes you don't need to water that much. It actually works really well. Last year, fantastic sweet potatoes right in this area. So that's kind of what I plan on doing. Let me keep going. It's got a lot of work. All right, let me suggest I found the best place for planting potatoes. And it just has to do, like I have a kind of a useless side of my yard where it's super slanted. I'm looking down a hill. In fact, if you look over here, you can see how steep these stairs are. And so last year I rototilled these furrows in here, or channels I call them, and they're about 10, 12 inches deep. And then I filled them with rabbit manure, and I grew sweet potatoes, watermelons, all kinds of stuff on this hill. Well, I decided, because of how treacherous this is, potatoes are actually the best thing to plant on this hill. And it's because if you plant it the way I did, you don't have to do anything but water. It's got all the nutrition, everything it needs, all the fertilizer, and I even planted with cow manure because I'm trying to enrich the soil each year. And I used about 30 bags of cow manure to fill it up this year. And all of this is going to break down in the soil and make it richer and richer and richer, because it was just clay. That's all this was. So anyways, I have, I think those rows down there are probably, let's say like 18 feet long. And then these up here are about half as long. So I have basically 6 rows that are 18 feet long. I could have gone a little farther, but my God, over the last couple days we broke our back working on this, because we had to weed the whole thing. I had to rototill it all over again, and then we had to come in here and I had to dig just a slight trench in the bottom, fertilize it with this I think it's like 5-10-10 or something. I talked about it in the video, and then I fill it up with cow manure, and I'm done. We're supposed to have rain this evening, so we were busting our butt trying to get this done. So the next thing we're doing down there is where my fruit cocktail trees are. We're trying to get that all weeded, and then I'm going to put mulch around the trees so we don't have to spend so much time weeding each year. And I fertilized them, so because they're just now starting to get blooms and leaves and everything. And then I've got a bunch of blueberry plants and blackberry plants that I'm going to grow as well. In fact, I'm going to make a row kind of in between that fence, and you can see my propane tank of blueberries. I'm going to make a big long row because they're not as tall as like the fruit trees. I don't want them shaded by the fruit trees, and so I'll have blueberries at the bottom here, and then all along the fence I'm going to grow blackberries. It's a perfect thing to grow along the fence line. I got the thornless ones too. So I started with 4, and I'm probably going to get at least 4 more. And then I already have some raspberries. Maybe I can get some grapes. We'll see. But I'm just going to try to hit this hard while it's still fairly cool. It's like air conditioning right now. It's absolutely gorgeous out here. If you're just standing around, it feels cool. But if you're working, you're still going to sweat up. All right. Well, this is a massive undertaking here for my wife and I, but we got it done. We didn't get all the weeds out of this area, but it really doesn't matter. This is in really good shape for potatoes. The biggest thing is keeping moles and stuff from eating all your crops, so that's why you plant more. A friend of mine just told me today, you plant for yourself, you plant for the animals, and then your friends. There's always bugs, there's critters, there's everything that want to eat what you're growing too. The only thing I forgot to do was hook my soaker lines back up, so I've got to try to get in here without stepping in my furrowed areas here. And that lower level, I got to get my big rototiller out, and we're going to work that area over really good too, but I'm trying to get the chickens to clean it up some first. We're still a little bit early for planting anything outside except for potatoes. Even my sweet potatoes, it's early. I probably still have a couple more weeks. So, still growing my slips. They'll be ready to go. I got to grow twice as many slips though for what I want to grow.
I hope everybody's treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.